Hello, this is Dr. Butterfield. I want to talk to you about emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping. So I'm going to give a little introduction, and then I want to give follow-up videos that will describe how you can easily apply the technique. And it's free. It's something you can do on your own without the help of me or another therapist or provider. For some of the harder issues, you may choose to work with me or another provider. But yeah, it's just a great tool. It's actually the first tool that I learned in the late 2000s, I think, like 2009, 2010. And I still use it with myself and with patients. Not as often. I have some other things I use. But it's just a great technique that I think would be worth you learning some basic techniques on how to use it for you and your family. So an introduction, I first learned that, so there's a lot of different tapping techniques out there. What do I mean by tapping? So if you've heard of them, tapping on these different points, it's like, well, what are they doing exactly? Well, it was originally, as far as I understand, the technology was developed by Dr. Roger Callahan, and he was a member of the International College of Applied Kinesiology, which I was formerly a member of, and I discovered his work. But he was using it he was a psychologist working in Beverly Hills, and he would use it to help his patients once he discovered it. But he discovered that technology after taking some acupuncture courses. I'm guessing ones that were taught in the International College of Applied Kinesiology, but regardless. So he was able to really help his patients, so much so that he ran out of patients because he fixed them all, he cured them. And so then he had a money problem, and but he wouldn't give it up. He knew it was helping people. His wife actually divorced him because, like, hey, we need money here. And he got remarried, I think, and had a better go the second time around. Anyway, so he's like the originator, and he called his technique thought field therapy. So that's kind of how it came about. One of the guys who studied his work, his name was Gary Craig, and he created his own technique, which he called EFT. He was very good at marketing it. I think it's probably better known than the Callahan technique or thought field therapy. I've not studied thought field therapy, so I can't really give any input on that. I think it may be more complicated. Gary Craig created a system that's very just basic. It's easy to apply. And so that's what I know. That's what I'm going to share with you. There's all kinds of different systems of tapping and techniques and so forth. You can probably find all over the internet or books or so forth. So here's one more coming from me for mostly for my patients or anyone else who wants to use that. So there's essentially 3 parts to the technique. So you start off working on what Dr. Callahan called a psychological reversal. It's just a starting technique, okay? And so he would rub on, this is a neurolymphatic point. He just called it the sore point. And I'll go into more detail on these techniques on other videos. And he would have you, while you're rubbing this point, or while you are tapping right here, he would have you do some affirmations. Okay, so that's the starting technique. That's where you frame it. I don't always do that. Sometimes I'll just go straight into the tapping part. Okay, so after you do that initial technique, then you go into tapping these different points, and these are acupuncture points. I didn't know that actually until I went to naturopathic school and I was studying acupuncture. I'm like, hey, these are the same points that I learned in EFT. And so that's where they come from, okay? Again, we'll go through the tapping sequence in more detail. And then the third part is he would tap again on another acupuncture point, and you would do these techniques to involve both sides of the brain to like synchronize your brain, okay? And then you would do the tapping phase again. You do an evaluation before you start this technique. So like on a scale from 1 to 10, how worked up am I? I guess I should have led that the tapping technique helps with emotional releases. It helps you to release emotional stress, and it is just astonishingly effective in some cases. And I loved that when I first discovered it, that I could change the way that I was feeling very quickly. Okay. And so that's what I want for you to have, because stress is it's the number one cause of illness, all kinds of stress. But, here's a simple tool you can do to help relieve emotional stress. Okay. So that's the introduction and overview. I'm going to go into more detail on each segment of this process. Okay. See you soon.